How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Foggins Media Corner back again with a brand new video for today. Welcome back to the movie review, aka for our sword review video for today. This time for this new episode for the series is going to be my review on the 2023 computer animated science fantasy adventure comedy film, and that is Nimona. Now, Nimona is a new Netflix animated film, and this film is based off the 2015 graphic novel of the same name, and this is directed by Bruno and Quane, who you may know these two guys as the directors of Spies in Disguise, which that was Blue Sky Studios' last animated feature film before they closed their doors back in 2021. So they have now come back together to make a new animated film, which is this film. And so in this film, we follow this guy named Balsta, voiced by Ahmed, who he is a knight in a futuristic medieval world, and what ends up happening is that he gets framed for a crime that he didn't commit, in which was that he was accused of the murder of the Queen. And so the only person to help him prove his innocence is this character named Nimona, voiced by Chloë Moretz, in which she's a mischievous teen, but she's also has a secret in which that she is a shape-shifting creature, and she was the creature that Balsta was sworn to destroy. So what ends up happening later on in the movie is that we see both these characters going on this havoc adventure to clear Balsta's name and find the real culprit who was responsible for the murder of the Queen. So that's pretty much the story of Nimona. Now, when it comes to Netflix animated films, they can either be hit or miss. Like, I've seen a few not too bad ones over the last few years, and while I have seen a few, like, misses under my belt and all that, but we've had a few surprisingly really damn good ones over the last few years. Like, we've had Klaus, which is one of the best animated films of 2019, and last year's Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which that was one of my favorite animated films of last year, and of course that was the most recent Oscar-winning film to be winning for Best Animated Feature Film. And but back then I did hear a little bit of things about this film. Like, I heard this was originally going to be made by Blue Sky Studios and it was going to be released back in 2020 until the pandemic happened, and then in the beginning of 2021 we heard the sad news that Blue Sky Studios were closing their doors and all that, and this film ended up getting scrapped from Blue Sky Studios until it got revived by a different production company, and then Netflix bought the rights to this film here. And I was like, I'll give this a go here because this one did look pretty interesting here. And but I didn't even know much of the cast in the film, but you've got some recognizable voice talents in the film, namely Chloë Moretz, who she's a talented actress, Ahmed, who I think is a phenomenal actor, and Frances Conroy, I think she's a pretty talented actress as well. And I didn't even realize that this is from the directors of Spies in Disguise, in which for that film I thought it was a pretty enjoyable animated film, so I was pretty intrigued to see what they were going to do for this new animated film here. And this film came out back in June 30th of this year, but I didn't see this on release day, but I just recently watched this film. I just finished watching this film this morning, and after watching this whole movie here, I have to agree with everyone what they've already said about this movie here. This movie was indeed fantastic here, and I can also say as well, it is definitely another one of the best animated films to come out of this year here. What I really loved in Nimona was, of course, the animation here, in which I found the animation here for this film to be absolutely dazzling, yet absolutely spectacular here, from its own style, which I thought was absolutely amazing, to the character designs, to the action scenes, in which the action scenes here for this film were a lot of fun, and yet filled with so much high energy to them, to the emotions and the overall tone of the film as well, in which I liked how this film represents some different types of tones here and there, because it's kind of like what Puss in Boots: The Last Wish did here, because for that film, not only that film does it play out to children, it could also appeal to adults, because in that film it did represent some darker stuff in that, and I loved how that film represented all of that. And as for this film, it represents some mature stuff here, and I thought this film did a fantastic job of representing all that here, as well as representing the overall message of the film, where it's basically about like how you judge people and all that. And I found that the overall message of the film to be really strong and yet really relatable here, because it showcases about the character of Nimona and how people view her in this film, since she's this girl who has this ability to shapeshift into different types of creatures. And I really loved how this film explored all of that, because there are times where it can bring in the emotional stuff to it, in which the emotions here for this film I thought were well balanced here. Like there are times where the film can pull your heartstrings, which it really did it really did get me while I was watching the film here. Like, there was some emotional stuff here and there in this film, and when it comes to the comedy aspects of the film, they were really entertaining here. It's mostly due to mostly due to the character of Nimona, because she is the biggest show stealer here in this film, and I really love this character here. She was a very sassy character, but yet she's also a very likable character here, and she was also performed so fantastically by Chloë Moretz, who voiced her character in this film here. She did a fantastic job with her voice work in the film here, and as well as Ahmed, who did the voice of Ballister. He was also fantastic in the film as well, and I also really care for this characters in this movie, along with Nimona in the film. Like, for when we get to see like what happens with Ballister in the film, straight away I just really found myself really caring for him so much, because his life at the moment is just a complete wreck since he's been accused of something he didn't commit, and it's like fracturing his relationship with this guy who he's in love with. And I loved how this film added in an LGBTQ element here in this film here, which I found it to be really, really strong here and very sweet. And since Pixar did that, I'm pretty sure some other kids' properties will do that in the future here. And as for the story for the film, it is pretty much a basic story where it's basically a crime story as well as like a fugitive story and all that. But it didn't really bother me. It didn't really bother me that much and all that. When I was like, oh, that I can tell like what was going to happen here, because I really felt so much for these characters here. Like I really felt for Ballister, for what's going on with him in this film, as well as like with Nimona in the film, because she's like struggling with herself throughout the entire film here. And like we do learn a little bit about her past in the film here, which when it comes to that, it was really emotional as well, and it really got me while I was watching the film. And as for the pacing, it is super well paced here, since the film's only now in 42 minutes and never tends to drag on or anything like that. It just manages to get straight to the point right away once the film has already begun here. And in terms of negatives I have with the film, I only have just one. It's where I kind of felt this film didn't really explain like where Nimona really came from and all that, like with like if she had like a family or anything like that. I just felt this film could have explained that to me here, like where she really came from and all that, and like why she has the ability to do what she's doing in the film here, where she's able to shapeshift into any different types of creatures here and there in the film. But overall, in the end, guys, Nimona, this movie was indeed a blast. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this movie, and this is definitely another fantastic animated film to come out this year. And if you do have Netflix, I highly recommend you check out you should check out this film on Netflix. So that's pretty much all to say about Nimona. I'm gonna give Nimona 4.5 out of 5. Yep, I couldn't agree more with what everyone has already said about this movie here. This is indeed one of the best animated films to be released this year, and it is certainly another one of my favorite films to come out this year as well. And it is definitely my best of the year list as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for my ACAF first store review on Nimona. And let me know what you think of this movie, if you have seen this already, or if you just recently checked out this film. Did you have a blast with this, or did you not really appreciate this? As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and this has been Foggins Media Corner signing off.